Welcome to Conscious Profits Unfiltered. This is your host, Sebastian Nam.
Man, this was a great episode. I interviewed Kevin Orosz. Kevin is a high-performance coach, workshop and retreat facilitator, and podcast host. He's also described as a performance philosopher, folk psychologist, and spoken word poet. He's a public speaker, freestyle MC, and founder and CMO of lifestyle brand Mystic Misfit. He truly is a performance philosopher, guys, and you'll be able to tell by his way with his words. You can find Kevin playing dangerously at the intersection of Eastern wisdom, modern psychology, philosophy, mysticism, and neuroscience. He helps men and women develop practices that connect them deeper to their purpose and creativity. He's got epic content all over social media, and I truly think you'll dig this episode where we dive into the old versus new paradigm of leadership and talk about the importance of emotional intelligence for leaders. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the show, Kev.
Good to be here, Seb.
Great to have you, my man. Great to have you. For those of you out there, Kevin is in Bali right now, so likely in a cooler place than where someone's listening, maybe in the freeway in LA. But man, what a beautiful place to be, brother.
Yeah, man, I'm really grateful to be here, and I'm glad I made it before the lockdowns happened earlier this year. So I'm blessed.
Yeah, man. Hey, I always start my podcast by asking, what was your last oh shit moment? What is the very first thing that comes to mind when you thought, oh shit?
Yeah, great question. I mean, it literally has to do with being here. I mean, I was doing my workout, breath work on the beach here in Uluwatu, and yeah, just some of the ocean moments I've had are insane. Like ocean, oh shit, it's like literally just feeling grateful and amazed that, while the planet is heating up and people are feeling maybe more fear than ever, I am like surrounded by beautiful people. My business is thriving, and I'm living on a magical island in the Pacific Ocean. So
very happy to hear that, man. I'm very happy to hear that. I'm finding that common theme amongst a lot of people, feeling more grateful than ever. A lot of people waking up in different ways that they hadn't before. So I love hearing that, man. Kev, you made a video a few years ago now. And you called it "Masculinity is Dead." It went viral. It's got almost a million views, over 900,000 views. It continues to get views, dude. I've gotten in there and in a while back, gotten into looking at the comments, and I mean, you've got people praising you, you've got people hating you for it, you've got it all, dude. What does that mean? In just a few words, what do you mean by masculinity is dead?
yeah, I mean, I thought I broke it down in the video as much as I could, although it was just, it was pure passion, nothing prepared there. It was just a riff. But it struck a chord with people, obviously. And for me, really, masculinity as we define it in modern culture is dead. It's lifeless. So I don't mean that men are dead and it's over. It's not like some feminist rap. If you actually listen to, which a lot of the commenters I don't think did, they just kind of saw what they wanted to see. But yeah, the current paradigm of masculinity is not serving men, first off, and then women and children probably also. So that was kind of the core, just, and I don't have solutions. I have ideas and I have experience, but it was just kind of just proclaiming that and putting it out there.
Yeah. And so you mentioned paradigm. So let's talk about the old paradigm versus the new paradigm in terms of masculinity, male leadership, just leadership in general. I think I'll read a quote here of Machiavelli. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. What is that trigger when you hear that in terms of old paradigm, new paradigm? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, Machiavelli is writing in a time of mass factional warfare and political struggle in Italy. It makes pure logical sense because fear can be a more powerful motivator than love in the short term. But in the long term, love will always be a stronger driver and incentivizer. Now, what's interesting is that, the new paradigm is the old paradigm, right? So I really believe that, when we lost the village, when we lost tribes and tribal living, when we lost rites of passage and initiation and connection to the earth, and not just like, oh, I go camping, but like living with the land and the environment at a deep primal level, which obviously like we can't, even if we wanted to, but we don't want to go back to that. But some of those values of, and there's plenty of people today, not many, but there are tribes and indigenous that still have some of these earth-based value systems. And what we see is that masculine leaders in those groups are what we call tender aggressive. So they're still hunters, they're still warriors, they're still alpha as fuck, but they have a tenderness, and they know how to listen, and they know how to wait, and they know how to use their intuition. And the Western modern version of leadership or masculinity, and I think all the way back to the times of Machiavelli is very present, lost a lot of that. It became purely mental. It became purely reason and logic based at the expense of almost everything. Relationships, healthy body, healthy mind, emotional resilience, at the expense of conquering, dominance, profit, things that don't hold up long term and don't support human beings. Actually, they're not. It's not about human values. It's about material or power values, and that's what we notice when we look at Western history.
Yet, and we'll get more into conscious leadership in business, but that old way isn't necessarily the only way to have power or profits, right, or influence. So what leads, you say the old paradigm is really the new paradigm, right? I love what you said about tender aggressiveness, right? About these leaders in tribes even today that exist. So, why the old and the new? What makes you why the new then? Like, why the new paradigm? What is telling you that we're having a shift in paradigm? Why are we getting away from that? Are we getting away from that? And if so, why are we seeing that old doesn't work anymore?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the most of the reasons the old isn't working are all around us. The male suicide rate, the prevalence of addiction and violent crime by males is like 20 to 40 times higher than females. And then on the other side, now all this is being unearthed about the rampant sexual violence and abuse that has gone on, that is organizational and systemic in every culture. I mean, it's really a wake-up call. And you can explain it away as much as you want, like, oh, well, these are just bad people or these are bad circumstances, but like something's happening when it's in every single modern culture in the West, and the East has their own issues, so they're different. And the economic and environmental game has been played out to a point now where it's like, wow, like, are we going to experience a sixth mass extinction while we're alive at 20x speed, like fast forward speed? And then the economy, like it's what season of the economy are we going into? Even during Corona, I saw a statistic, which I didn't fact check, but mom and pops and local businesses are down like 60%, just getting decimated by the lockdown. Meanwhile, Lowe's, Amazon, Apple, Home Depot, their stocks are the highest they've ever been, 100% increase, 200%. It's insanity. And I'm not docking capitalism. I think capitalism has a lot of good things it does, and actually it makes a lot of sense. But the systems we've created and the male leaders who thrive in those systems and have co-created them don't serve humanity wholesale. And so why I say it's the old paradigm becoming the new is a fusion of old and the ancient and the modern stuff we've learned through technology, through data science, all the amazing things, we have to fuse them to actually forge a new way forward.
I like that you said, in terms of how to fuse it to move forward, because, I think that a lot of people think, just, capitalism is associated with like this really horrible thing and bad word. But in reality, it's given us so much progress and all these amazing, beautiful things that are allowing us to have a video conference right now, and like all these great things. And that's why, I think looking at the new paradigm of conscious leadership and conscious capitalism is the way forward, is the true way to grow, in a better way, to actually have progress that's not going to burn us out the way that we are being, the way that we're experiencing this old paradigm not work. Hey guys, I just want to remind you, if you want to find more content like this, you can visit sebastiannaum.com. That's Sebastian, NAUM.com. You can also get a ton of other marketing resources from myself and my agencies, ranging from SEO to social media, influencer marketing, branding, web development, and more. Again, that's sebastiannaum.com. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the show. So we're talking old paradigm, new paradigm. So I'll give you a compassionate leader's quote from Nelson Mandela. Our human compassion binds us to one another, not in pity or patronizingly, but as human beings who have learned how to turn our common suffering into hope for the future. What comes through when you hear that?
Yeah, I mean, he's identifying and describing the stronger form of leadership and bond. Like you can rule people through fear and pain. It's been done for a long time, but those societies always collapse. The only ones that survive and the only ones that over time, even on the micro scale, like in a family or relationship, are ones built on compassion, hope, love, real human values that actually have longevity.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that someone, to tie it a little bit to business and leadership in business, particularly conscious leadership in business, or conscious capitalism, whatever, you really want to call it. How important is it for a leader to embody consciousness as opposed to these old paradigm aspects? So how important is it for a leader to be self-aware, for example?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a leader, whether you're a CEO or some kind of executive or any leadership position in business, the organization around you is going to reflect you intimately, So I look at it like evolutionary biologists would. It's an ecosystem, and on another level, it's an organism. So the metaphor is very appropriate. It's an organism. So naturally, the nucleus, the center of the mandala, the top of the pyramid, whatever you want to call it, it reflects down to everything, and the people reflect up to the leader. So if the leader is self-aware and has done some inner work or is really dedicated to that, it'll reflect in everything, because that will become embodied over time. That will reflect to the 5 people they spend the most time with in the company, probably other leaders. Mm-hmm. And then that will ripple out and through the entire ethos. It will, if you're really self-aware, you're not going to make decisions that take away people's freedoms or cause suffering unnecessarily. You're going to feel that, because awareness is just, can you feel and sense what you're actually doing? Can you get the feedback fast and act upon it accordingly?
Yeah, I feel that without that self-awareness, how do you have that self-improvement? How do you have continuous growth without awareness of something needing to be better?
Sure.
Yeah. Kev, I think that the subject of vulnerability has been big, over the last couple of years. I feel like there's like this mainstream aspect almost to it. And so, if you're CEO, regardless if you're a male or a female, right? should a CEO or a leadership position or someone, you know, that has people under them, should they show vulnerability?
I mean, short answer, yes, 100%. Longer answer is like, I mean, vulnerability isn't the same thing as weakness. Vulnerability is just being honest and transparent. So it's like, hey, I'm not infallible and I make mistakes, or I'm actually suffering, and I can let you in on that process. And obviously there's discernment and skill to doing this, because if you just open up and collapse in your pain or something personal in business, that's gonna actually probably do the opposite of what you want. But measured doses at the right time, the right moment, vulnerability is actually going to strengthen the leadership qualities and inspire people, and just build trust, because people are going to be like, wow, he's being, you know, it takes balls to be vulnerable. Like it doesn't mean that you're weak. Actually, it means you're really strong, because everybody's going through stuff. Everybody has something they're struggling with. The people who pretend that they don't aren't actually stronger. They're holding back a dam of energy. And obviously there's other places, coaching or therapy or martial arts or nature. There's plenty of places to go experience vulnerability in a different way. But in business, you know, the psychological and heart bonds that form in a company organization, you know, again, the longevity of being vulnerable and having compassion in that field created is going to be, it's going to produce massive results over time.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really easy to make that connection between being vulnerable and being weak. Now, which it clearly isn't, you know, I agree with you on that. Now, there is a way to show vulnerability. There's ways to do it right, and there's ways to do it wrong, probably, because I think, do you feel that you could do it wrong per se? You can show vulnerability at the wrong times. There's one thing, because I can come up and say, I can be vulnerable about something that happened to me in the past that I struggled with, but I have now come through, and I kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel where I have grown from it, right? So I can take that into a business aspect and show how we have been vulnerable as a business, and then how we can grow from it. Or I could just come out and just show complete vulnerability and kind of show that I'm lost. And then that can maybe spiral into, you know, the people that look up to me and being like, oh shit, our leader's lost. Not, you know what I'm saying?
Totally. And that's where the discernment comes in, you know, like in the first example, like, yeah, using vulnerability as a teaching or storytelling tool is very powerful. It's how people can connect to that. And that's a quality of a good leader, is they can tell a story that people will be ensnared by and feel like they buy into it. But yeah, like, on a personal level, you know, yeah, in the second example, that probably wouldn't be a good idea, because you want to be vulnerable. Maybe that's to a few close associates and just and share that, but to the whole group that you're leading, yeah, like the timing of that would probably be really bad. There's also a time where that could be appropriate, if it was,
Right.
if it really was that moment where there was a lot of confusion. I mean, you can admit you're lost and you feel that in the moment, but it doesn't mean it's true forever and the company is going to just collapse. So there's still a time and place for that. If you're really going for it and you want to build that like family, tight-knit village kind of ecosystem in your business.
Yeah, I think in general, waiting for the right time and having the right delivery is extremely important to show vulnerability as a leader, as a CEO, whatever position that you're in your company or your group. But I think that the example that you said, that there could be a time and a place to show that you're lost in a way, could have been better shown when Corona hit, and in the beginnings of it in March or April, where you actually saw some conscious leadership out of some big companies and came out and said, we don't know where we're going. We don't know where this is, but we're here for you, whether it was with their employees or with other stakeholders or with, their customers. Right. So I think that, but probably more often than not, it's best to get through the rough times or have a plan or something before you just show vulnerable. Otherwise, showing that vulnerability will be seen as a weakness. So I think there's definitely interesting to have a balance there. So you touched on compassion there, Kev. How important is it for a leader to be compassionate with his or her employees or contractors or stakeholders, right?
Well, again, it's if you're talking about building trust, and trust being like a core value of a healthy business, compassion is one of the best ways to do that. You're going to enroll people and build rapport at a very deep level of altruism and coming from love, which compassion is a high form of love. It's just like, you're not a brutal dictator. You're not heartless. Even if you're delivering, some intense information, like you have to lay someone off or you have to make cuts or there's a big decision that's going to affect a lot of people, you can still make those decisions and still run good business, but you don't just like take out any emotion or take out the human aspect. You can still bring compassion, and people will feel that. People will sense that, and they will trust you deeper, even if they don't even know it, like the idea, like the social Darwinism idea is actually bullshit. And there's a lot of good science on this now too. Like this whole social Darwinism idea justifies things like the Holocaust, where there's a pecking order, survival of the fittest, all this stuff. And like, yes, there is a survival of the fittest theme playing out in evolution. But actually, if you go deeper into studying the environment, and this all feeds back into business, I see the parallels. The environment is built on symbiosis at a deep level. And we don't even really understand how deep it goes. When you talk about plankton and algae, you talk about mycelial networks, you talk about spores and pollen. Like, nature is completely built on a foundation of symbiosis, actually, and cooperation, which obviously the animals maybe aren't being compassionate, but translate the same things that make that successful into human organization and business. The guy that's a savage and ruthless and profit above everything may have a short-term success that's really powerful, but long-term they will always fail because you've cut your roots out from under you. It's built on symbiosis. And so compassion is a number one way as a leader to cultivate that and set the example.
That's powerful, man. Yeah. Why do you feel that it's somehow naturally easier for women to hold a lot of these traits than for men? Why is, we may be going back to the beginning of this in a way, but why is that female leaders in a way have an easier time displaying some of these conscious leadership traits than men?
Yeah, there's many reasons at many levels. Some literally are biological. So there just is, because the woman is the nurturer and the mother, they have, on average, more capacity for emotional intelligence. They have more capacity for empathy and nurturance, right? Social bonding, pair bonding. Because this is how biology, the universe, God, whatever you believe, is designing the whole system. That's how mothers pair bond with children. So it's really important that women have this. Women also tend to prioritize relationships over things or plans or ideas, which men on average can prioritize, especially in business. So it will come more naturally to a female leader, but a lot of this stuff has been conditioned. So there's no reason, again, back to that tender, aggressive, kind of traditional alpha role. A man can also be highly empathetic, to be in coordination in like a hunt scenario, for example. If you're hunting and your life's on the line and survival, you actually have to have high empathy to track your team. That doesn't mean you're going to like feel their emotions and process their emotions in the moment. You're going to go for the kill. But in business, empathy isn't just about like feeling feelings. Empathy is about high levels of an intuitional decision-making, coherence, and relationship building, which of course in business is going to be huge if you can do that with the right people at the right time. So yeah, there's many factors from biological to social conditioning that have caused that.
That's extremely important, man. I love those points you made. At the end of the day, it all ties down to emotional intelligence. All of it is emotional intelligence. And I think it's the best type of intelligence. And it's really what can embody what a conscious leader, can and should be. And, it is a type of leadership I think that we need more than ever. And I hope that people really can grasp the fact that you can make just as many profits, just as much money or more, and do so, in a conscious way that gives back to humanity, to your communities, to the environment, that establishes trust, and just compassion all around, and it's just, gosh, man, it's much more enjoyable way to live anyway, right?
Exactly. That's the bottom line.
That's the bottom line,
actually
man.
feels better.
Yeah, it just feels better, man. It feels better. Kev, you just launched an 8-week men's circle called Alignment. What is that about? What do you guys do?
Yeah, really excited. Just kicked that off this week, actually. And, this has been in the making for a couple of years with two of my dear brothers, one who's here in Bali with me, Luke Cohen, and then Dan Regan, he's an epic guide and coach in Australia. And yeah, we've done a lot of retreats and in-person stuff together with men and women, but we really felt called to serve men. And so Alignment is really, it's 8 weeks of accountability, ownership, integrity in men's circles. And, there's a teaching aspect where we're sharing perspectives about, the new masculine and what works for men and how to actually do your work and come into witnessing other brothers and listening and also being seen in your pain, in your triumph. And there's also the accountability piece where like these men have, work to do and accountability pods that they're doing together, as well as, doing the coaching with us. So yeah, it's just more than ever, so many men and like from the first call, it's just heart explosion of like, yeah, a lot of men are isolated, they're running their family, they're running their business, they're working, they're doing their thing, but they feel super isolated because the male to male bonding in most average small town America, big city America, whatever. We have brothers from all over the world in there, but it's really the same everywhere. Isolating, superficial, the male bonding isn't based on what's actually happening for them in their inner world. And so that breeds a lot of the things we've already talked about: addiction, numbing, emotional stunted growth, hiding trauma, or very practically limits on their income, limits on their well-being, health limits, relationship limits, like they're repeating a pattern with women. So this this work is needed in 2020. It's always been needed, but now I think there's enough shit going wrong that more men are more open to being like, wow, this is like, I need this. I want this.
More than ever, brother, more than ever. And it literally kind of ties back to all the things that we've been just touching on and talking about. So I'm so glad you're doing that. I can't wait to partake in one of these myself, my man. And how can people get a hold of you, Kev? Where should they follow you better?
Yeah, I'm on social. Instagram is probably the best place. I'm Kev_Orosz, which is lion in Hungarian.
Oh yeah.
So that's a good place to go. Also KevinOrosz.com, is my website. I have Flow State Mastery, which is an online course teaching morning routines and like high performance habits and hacks, which is super dope. And that just is ongoing. And then I work a lot with high performing men and women to build better business and relationship practices. And, within that, I do a lot of archetypal hero's journey work and like really like building life plans with people and unplugging them from the matrix and some of their limitations. And I make a lot of content. So I have a podcast as well, which Seb will definitely be on, which is The Revolution, which
I
is all
love it,
about
man.
philosophy and a lot of the stuff we've been talking about, philosophy, psychology, and evolutionary thinking.
That's awesome, man. You know, they say that the Matrix was actually a documentary.
It's true. I believe that.
Kevin, it's been a pleasure, my man. I love hearing what you have to say, and your message is very much needed. Like you said, always been needed, but in 2020 more than ever. So you keep doing you, my man. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, brother. So grateful to be here, man. Keep rocking it.
Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. You know, it takes a lot to put these things together, but I truly love doing it. If you enjoyed this episode or the show in general, and you listen to it on audio podcast, please take some time to give it a review. It would really mean a lot to me. And if you watch the video, please go ahead and just click subscribe and share it with somebody that you think would like it. It would really mean the world to me, and it helps keep the show alive. Visit sebastiannaum.com for more content, and follow me on Instagram at sebnaum. That's SEBNAUM. Thanks again for spending your time with me. I know it is valuable. I hope you have a great rest of the day and week. Till next time.